as a company. You mean to tell me, as a black nurse, has been doing everything on her end from the beginning to when she was terminated, when she have established great rapport with her families, not only with families, but with residents as well. When you get emails from families and stated to you and say, it's not you, Miss Shipman, it's not you as a nurse, it's them as a whole, as a company. So if I was such a bad nurse of the company, there's no possible way I would have obtained great recommendations from families that I have taken upon myself to take time to take care of their loved ones. When I have, at the end of the day, received pictures in the mail. Thank you for your service. Thank you for taking care of my father. Without you, I don't know where I will be. Thank you for the expertise as a nurse to fulfill this role, to continue to give your recommendations, not only as a nurse or a social worker or as a family advocate for my father or my mother. My role says so much. I've been a nurse for only 2 years, going on 3. When I was a resident care supervisor, I've been a nurse for 2 years, and I have established so much rapport with families.
But you've been in the medical field for how long?
I've been in the medical field for 15 years.
Okay.
Behind the scenes, taking care of business as far as the patient's medical records go. I didn't come on the scene to take care of someone like maybe 2019 when I became a CNA. I took the class. I became certified. I never forget. I passed boards at Fitton, Michigan. I remember driving back from Fitton, Michigan, calling my mother and say, hey, I'm like, Mom, I passed my CNA. I'm moving forward. I can really take this and move forward with my nursing degree. Because that's what's, you know what I'm saying? That was my prerequisites, going into nursing. So I'm like, okay, cool. Okay. I was nervous, just like anybody else. When you're going into the medical field, you feel like, oh, I can't do this. It takes consistency, dedication, and being intentional of what you set your goals to be. So when I knew what I wanted to be moving forward with my career, hey, I may have to backtrack because I did obtain my bachelor's degree in case management from Davenport University. And I'm applying to jobs. I'm like, okay, nothing's open enough for me. I'm like, every job I tried to apply to always stated that I need that nursing background for me to move forward. So I'm like, okay. Now it's time for me to get serious about my goals. So when I paid everything off, the biggest bill that I had was my rent, no problem. So I made sacrifices to make sure I made everything copacetic as far as getting everything completed, as far as making every balance 0, and I can move forward. And that's just what it was. From that year, yes, I cried. I cried like a baby. I mean, I'm not gonna tell you nursing is not easy. Not easy. Because you have people's lives in your hands that you need to take care of. Not current, but moving forward in life. And just in general, when you have that compassionate, that empathy for people, you could become a nurse. Don't go into nursing because of money. You're not going to get fired. You're going to be a miserable individual. I remember as a wellness director, as a nurse, I sat there for 18, 19, 20 hours when I missed out on my family's, you know what I'm saying, adventures. My son, my daughter, my fiance, you know what I'm saying, all of that. I put them to the side to make sure my building was up to par, my residence was taken care of, my staffing was, staffed appropriately. That's what you do when you're in those type of positions. Now, moving forward, I'm a traveling nurse consultant. I fill in as a director of nursing. I conduct mock surveys for the state to come in, perceive what they need to do as far as their ends. You know what I'm saying? It's so many duties that I have to attend to as a nurse. I love my job. I don't have no complaints. Yes, I have challenges, but I take the time to take it upon myself to reanalyze everything and apply everything I have learned within myself and move forward with my career. And that's just what it is, So that's very, very important. As a wellness director, not a wellness director, but a nurse consultant, I travel throughout the United States. I'm very, very versatile. I'm very informed of who I need to contact just in case I need help. So never put it in your mind that you don't need help. Oh, you're going to definitely need help. Because I'm the type of person, I don't depend on nobody. I don't ask for help. That's not going to get you too far. Because at the end of the day, you're going to get burnt out, number one. Or number two, you're going to walk away from your position. So it's always, important to ask for help. And that doesn't make you weak because you're asking for help in your role. And I thought that. As time went on, I thought, oh, I'm asking for help. I'm weak. Like, I can't think for myself. Like, no. It's always somebody behind the scenes is willing to help you no matter what. So, I embedded in my brain to ask for help no matter what. If I'm struggling in something, oh, you best believe I'm going to ask for help. And that's just what it is. But I felt so insecure of asking for help because I'm so independent of how I move, how I think, and how I do things. Always been that type of woman, always will be. But I have to come to terms like, Manisha, it's okay to ask for help. It's not a sign of weakness. It's okay. You can ask for help. And ever since being in that wellness director role, I have come to terms and said, hey, I'm going to reach out to appropriate personnel to say, hey, I need help in this area. And that's just what it is. It takes a team to complete a certain situation. Not even a certain situation, just the overall aspect of the situation. That's why you have a team. It's so important for you to have a team you can confide in, you know what I'm saying, just to have that one-on-one with that person. So it's just so important to ask for help. It's okay. It's not a sign of weakness. And I had to learn that throughout my years as a nurse, because I'm that person, like, I'm not gonna ask you for nothing. I got this. Woo. But when you look at certain situations, it drains you. You feel less confident, you know. So who wants to be in a position when you feel like that? I don't. If I need help, I want to reach out to the appropriate personnel to help me and set me up for success in the near future, so I can help somebody in the near future. That's how I look at it. And that's just what it is. Mm-hmm. So, you know, as a nurse, you know, these 2 years, it seems like I've been a nurse for many years, but I've been behind the scenes for like maybe 15 years, because I come from the hospital setting. But, you know, being a, you know what I'm saying, a nurse for 2 years is really taught me a lot of how to establish those relationships with your personnel. You know, don't be afraid to reach out when you need help. Having that effective communication with your personnel as well. And, you know, it's just a blessing, you know, when you have that support, that team to facilitate certain things, you know what I'm saying, you know, have a layout for you to be successful in your role. I think that's very important. So I do appreciate my team that I'm currently with at this momentarily. You know, I appreciate everyone that's been in my corner. You know, being a young nurse, you know, we did have a staff meeting early, and I seen so many nurses have so many experience as a nurse. Like I seen somebody said 25 years, 17 years. You know, I'm the baby of the group, so I'm like 2 years in the game of nursing, but I have learned a lot behind the scenes versus practicing the nursing aspect of it. So as I move forward in my career, you know, I want to continue to learn, of course, and be that example for the next new upcoming nurse or nurses, you know, as I move forward with their career. So I'm very appreciative.
Okay. So this is the first episode of the end of the day. So we're going to ask Nurse Simone, at the end of the day, what built you to become Nurse Simone?
What built me to become Nurse Mo? I'm always had the compassionate empathy for people. And I tell anybody, if you don't have those vital things in your life, do not become a nurse, because you're gonna have sacrifices. And when I look at it on the other aspect of life, people do it as far as money. It's more than money. I can recall as a wellness director, I'm sitting behind like a desk, maybe 17, 18, 19 hours a day when I'm missing out on my daughter or son's events. You know, my fiance, you know what I'm saying? We dealing with so much, and I have to put them to a side because I'm assigned to taking care of a building of residents, you know what I'm saying, in a timely manner. So it's just like, it's more than money. The satisfaction for me when I walk at that building, I know I have made a difference. And not saying that I have to have a pat on the back right at that moment, but I know I have made a difference when you feel it within yourself. When you walk out that building and you're okay, you don't have no complaints, you don't have any concerns or issues that you have to rectify that at that moment, you know you have made a difference. And yes, with this role, it's going to be a lot of trials and tribulations. But the most important is having a great rapport with your families and residents and making sure everything is solid on your end. Because if something comes up, you have the necessary documentation or whatever the case may be set in stone, so you can always refer back to say, hey, I did X, Y, and Z, and I'm squared away, and I'm good. And that's just what it is. Nursing is a very, very special career. You cannot go in as far as money. There's more to that. As long as I'm walking out,
your emotions have to be tied into it.
You have to have a compassionate heart, like I reiterated right now. Compassionate, empathy. You just have to be that person. If you don't have those certain qualities to be a nurse, it's not gonna work out for you. Because at the end of the day, you're gonna come into work miserable. So if you're doing it for a money purpose, it's really not going to benefit you at the end of the day. Because at the end of the day, you looking at, oh, I'm getting a paycheck. Oh, okay, I'm good. I'm clocking out. But when you make that resident feel good, and when they're at the dying end of the road, and their family is pleased, that's when it matters. Period. And that's just what it is.
So, when a resident die,
yes,
what are some of the first procedures and the first steps that goes on when a resident dies in the AFC home?
So usually, depending on the situation, when a resident, when you know for a fact that the resident is going to be passing, if it's a terminal illness, example, cancer. Usually with cancer residents or patients, whatever they're, you know what I'm saying, whatever setting that you're in, usually we get those residents on hospice. So hospice can be utilized having all the extra services provided for, not only for the resident, but for the families. So with hospice, usually come in, you know, they're doing the showering, they're doing the social work purpose, you know, overtaking the whole medication purposes, making sure that resident is comfortable as they transition to the next life, right? So that is the purpose of hospice. Hospice doesn't necessarily mean end of life. It means additional services that's added for the resident or patient that they can utilize while they transition to the end of life. Okay? So usually when that happens, the steps to that, as a nurse myself, I will always prepare a care conference with the POA, you know, which means the power of attorney, who takes care of the residents' affairs, okay? Financially and medically. That's how that operates. So, once we get an established plan of how that looks like, once we proceed with our approval from that POA and say, hey, yes, this resident is not going to, recover from this illness, blase, blase. Okay, we're gonna put this resident on hospice. And the reason why hospice is so important is because, when a resident is going, transferring back and forth to the hospital, they're really not seeing any progress. So, that being said, once the family member make that progress or make the immediate decision of what needs to happen, that's when we have the care conference. It's completed. We move forward, make sure that resident has the medications that they need, they're comfortable through the whole transition, and go from there.
So, once a resident has passed away,
yes,
and moved on to the next life,
yes,
what is the protocol of being picked up by the family member? Can you give us that protocol?
So the protocol is, once a family loved one has passed on, usually with the admission process, we already have the funeral home arrangements already in place once that resident moves into the community. So we already have that in place. So when that happens is, myself as the nurse, we contact the funeral home, let them know when the resident has expired. They have certain jewelry, certain clothing, things of that nature. Okay. Either that can be removed from family, or it can remain with the family, with the resident or patient, and go from there. Now, once the resident or family, depending on the setting that you're in, once they're removed from that community, the community as a whole will continue to reach out to family just to be that added support as they go through this difficult time burying a loved one. So what that includes is a nurse, as myself, doing a follow-up with the family, number one. Number two, the physician that is on board with that resident will keep in touch with the family as well. And number three, the social worker or / case manager, whatever her role is, will be the added support to the family as far as the spiritual support to help them deal with this significant change with their loved one. And I think that's so important to always follow up once their loved one has passed on to the end of life. I think that's so important for the community to stay in touch with that family, to let the family know that we're here as time go on with your family.
So remember, being a nurse,
yes,
and in the AFC home, where our loved ones is, where they get old and this is where they go when everybody don't have time to take care of them, and
right.
we place our loved ones in y'all care.
Right.
Can you just give me some thoughts on how do we know, because I want us to go inside the AFC home for a minute.
Mm-hmm.
The nurses that's caring for our family member, how do we know that this is the right nurse?
as a nurse, of course, myself, I'm gonna be honest, you never know who's gonna be the right nurse. It's all about who's gonna be that nurse that's gonna be having that effective communication, having that empathy, compassionate for that love.
How do we know that though? How do we know
sometimes
that that's being given to our family member?
Sometimes you know, it's all about, sometimes, you know, you can have what they say, quote unquote, just my opinion, having that discernment. Discernment. If you have that discernment of that nurse that's communicating with you, if you feel like, just like if I have my mother in a assisted living and this nurse is communicating with me on a daily, and if I feel like something is not adding up, of course, that's going to give me some sort of discernment and say, I don't know if she the right one that's going to be taking care of my loved one. So it's going to have you thinking a little bit, just a little bit different.
Or my dad or my uncle,
Yeah, exactly. So you have to have discernment on each individual of who you come in contact with. And that's just what it is. So at the end of the day, say for instance for you, if something happened drastically with your mother that she has to go to assisted living, so you have to make an immediate decision between you and your sister and your brother. And the outcome is, okay, mom is going to have to go to assisted living because, you know, your situation, she can't live with you. Your brother, she can't live with you. Your sister, she can't live with you. Okay. Everybody has came to agreement. Okay. My mother is going to assisted living. Okay. No problem. So as time go on, once you get familiarized with the community, with the staff, then if you have this continuous communication with this nurse, and you feel like inside of you, because everybody have a gut feeling about something, either it's right or wrong. There's just, no matter what the situation is. But when someone is taking care of your loved one, and you constantly hearing the report that this person is giving you, and you're just like, I don't agree with that. It just, something does not add up. Okay, in my mind, that's just like, okay, that's my intuition talking. Something's not adding up. So I gotta go above you because you're not giving me what I need to fulfill me. You're not. So I need to go above your head and figure out what's going on. So let's figure out, okay, now she has gave you all this information. Come to find out she's been a deceiver. Been lying to you the whole time that your loved one has been here. She's telling you, oh, well, you know, your mother, she's not making progress. She's doing this and doing that. But when you visit your mother on a daily basis, you're seeing something different. Okay, something's not adding up. I see my mother every day, but you're giving me a different outcome of what my mother's condition is. I got a problem with that. So at this point, I'm going to go above your head because it's always somebody's managing somebody. Because at the end of the day, okay, you the unit manager, okay, somebody's over you. It's the director of nursing that's over you. The director of nursing, somebody's over you. That's called a regional. We're going to get to the bottom of it. We're going to come to some type of agreement. We're going to have a care conference because it's so much, you know, what the word I'm looking for? It's so much like pieces that need to be put together to figure out what situations need to be rectified when it comes to a patient's condition. Because you over here and you got a nurse over here. Something's not adding up. So we all need to come together and lay out everything for everybody so we can come up with a resolution. Just my thoughts. I'm not perfect. Just the way how I think when it comes to people's conditions.
So, when you first got into nursing,
Mm-hmm.
what made you just travel into that world? Like, what would, like, can you take us back to the day, the time, like, where you just said, I'm finna give up this job and I'm finna go into nursing?
So I can actually give you two reasons why I went into nursing. One is my cousin, she a little bit, I'm 38, so she like maybe 2 years older than me. So she battled cancer. So I never forget, I spent the night over there one night and I knew she was having some trouble. Like she was real sick, in the bed, really not eating, drinking, things of that nature. So I stayed the night with her to make sure she had the adequate liquids and make sure she had some sort of food substance, to settle on her stomach, of course. She battled cancer for many years. And it's such a blessing that she's still here because, I thought I would have lost her a long time ago, but thank God she's still here. Number one. So she's doing great. Actually, she's in Illinois, doing great. She's a professor out there, so it's awesome. Number two, my daughter's father, he got shot, lower extremity in the leg. And I remember taking care of him. He was in so much pain. It was just nonstop. And I remember him, this is the first time when he got shot, taking care of him, making sure everything was, copacetic with him. It was just a lot to deal with because I'm young, of course. I have little knowledge, but of course, as you get a little bit older, you obtain a lot of knowledge. So taking care of him was, another addition for me to going to nursing because, like I said, when you have that passion for people, when you love helping people, you take on a whole different, aspect of life as far as people, So my cousin and my daughter's father is what drew me to pursue nursing. Because like I said, it's not always about the money. It's all about having that compassionate love and support for the people that you're serving, So I never want people to get that, misconstrued about money. Man, it's not all about the money. Because there's going to be times when you spend 13, 14, 15 hours, depending on the setting that you're in. Somebody's life is in your hands. If you're going to have to make immediate decisions when you don't even have the personnel to make those decisions, you're going to have to be that patient advocate 100%, while they don't even have that support. So it's just like, it's so much that ties in with that. So I'm kind of glad that I did go into nursing. It's been my calling, and I love every bit of it. And the thing is it's been, ups and downs. That's what any career, but it's very rewarding. You have so many options you could go in: case management, med surge, ICU. I mean, you have so much you could go into nursing. So, the bottom line is very rewarding.
So, at the end of the day, it's at the end of the day. So listen, at the end of the day, tell the people, like, the next nurse that's trying to come up and, want to be the next nurse Mo, and get to where you at and get that nursing degree and, go through them tests, go through them adversities and go through that college and just developing that skill, to get to where you at. Let's talk a little bit about that.
I'm gonna make it short and sweet. As a nursing student, number one, log out of social media. That's the number one thing. That would definitely keep you distracted. Because the thing is, when you have people that you're managing, you can't focus on the negativity of what's going on out in the real world. So you have to definitely take a break from social media. I can say that, number one. Number two, you want to be disciplined. You want to be consistent. You want to make flashcards constantly, going over material. You want to have a solid female group that you're studying with. I did it at Barnes & Nobles. I had 2 other females that I used to study with, maybe once or twice a week out of, either if it was in person, over the phone or Zoom. It's very important. You can't have no distractions. If you're in a solid relationship, let your partner know, say, hey, this is what it is. You support me. That's it. Just be honest and open about what's going on. Because, some females are in relationships and they might not be. But when you have a supporting partner, hey, that's going to do tremendous work for you. You have children, try to have a balance. You got young kids, attend to what they got going on. Help them with homework if that's what it is. And then put them to bed, and then you focus on what you have going on. So it's all about a balance.
So, okay, you say it's all about a balance, but
yes.
How much of endurance is it that I just came home from work from my other job? I got this bill to pay. Mm-hmm. I need to get this couple dollars or whatever the case may be.
Yep. So, I can speak from experience. Like, before I got into nursing school, I made sure all my bills was paid up.
How you do that, though? Like, how did you do it with credit? Did you do it with...
No, I paid it with cash. Like, cash money.
So that was part of your discipline?
Of course.
I'm saying, okay.
I missed out.
What was you working at?
So, at the time, I was still working at... a local hospital in Michigan, and I did a home health sidekick. You know what I'm saying? So I made it work. So how my mind works, and whatever works for the next individual. I had a plan. So when you have a plan and a set goal for something, you're going to always try to make it work for yourself. Okay? So when I knew that I wanted to pursue nursing, I knew I had to take it upon myself to say, okay, I got to pay this off, or I got to pay this up for me to get into nursing school. So let's be honest, I'm making sure.
And you got a job. So to pay to pay them things off, you got a job. So because we want you to break the narrative down now.
Yeah.
You have to, so you was working. Where was you working at? How much you was making, and what was your adversities?
So so let me say this. So when the first time I got notified of the nursing program, I wasn't ready. Mm-hmm. I had to deny it. And it hurted me to the core. It hurted me to the core. That year, I'll never forget. It was 2018. I never forget. She was like, "Oh, Manisha, you've been accepted, yada, yada, yada." But I knew in the bottom of my heart I wasn't ready because I didn't have what I needed to fulfill that role as a nursing student. So I had to decline it. But I told myself that next following year, I'm going to be straight. So what happened, make the story short, so I got myself already prepared. I paid off everything. The only big bill that I had was my rent. My rent at the time was like $600. At the time I was working at a local hospital. I was working in the ER. You know what I'm saying? You know, so I was making pretty decent money. I can't complain. And then I picked up a home health job as well. So I was making ends meet. So, to be honest, I paid everything up. So the next following year, in June, I got another email because I finished all my prereqs, my biology, my micro, everything that you can name of. And she was like, you know, Manisha, you all set for, you know, to start nursing program in the fall and things of that nature. And I was like, oh, okay. So I prepared myself, you know, and when you have children, you have that discussion with them. So I always was honest and open with my children. So at the time, my kids was like, I want to say, I want to say at least 16 and 10. So having that discussion, they understood where I was coming from. So they were comfortable. I said, you know, I was honest and said, hey, we may miss out on certain things, but it's not going to be our final destination. So speeding up, moving forward with that.
And go ahead.
Moving forward with that, you know, I got into nursing school. You know, I cried, survived, studied. Was at Barnes and Nobles. I never forget an anesthesiologist gave me a coffee gift card. She was like, I see what you're doing. I'm so proud of you. Keep going. I'm going to get you a coffee.
And Barnes and Noble?
Barnes and Nobles. I'll never forget that. She gave us a $10 gift card. I'll never forget that. Very genuine woman because she knew that.
What's her name?
I remember her face. Don't remember her name.
Okay.
I'm going to be honest. I don't remember her name. Very pleasant woman. It was very into what we were trying to accomplish in life.
So listen, at the end of the day, we're going to continue this. This is part 1. We're going to do a part 2 with Nurse Mo coming soon. So, Nurse Mo, give me IG.
Yes, my IG is Goddess Mo 36. My TikTok is Umeki, UMEKI 1984. Hit me up. I'm always giving inspirational affirmations, all that. So hit me up if you have any questions. Please feel free to inbox me. You know, so that's what I'm here for. So.
And at the end of the day, it's just us. You know. So tune in again. Thank y'all. This is the first edition to the end of the day.
Thank you.
Web series.